Hello folks, welcome to Canal Channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how we install this AC mini split unit, and this is 220 volt. And what we did is not everything that you see here came with it. We had to get the box and the electrical. We had to do the electrical as well, and the stand off the ground so no leaves and trash will get into the fan or the coil. Stuff is going into the internal unit. So with that said, we're going to show you how we did this so you get an idea how this task was done. Now we have installed the bracket where the internal unit is going to be hanging from the wall, and that bracket we put it into the studs of the wall. So then we have the outer outline where the unit will be, and then we have a mark where the hole is going to be. All the hoses and everything that has to, the hard lines are going to go outside. So we're going to make the hole now so we can start feeding the unit into the wall. So now we got our drill with a pilot or a drill bit that is going to be the guide, and then we have the hole saw for it, the diameter that we need to cut the hole. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using our vacuum to be on so we can, all that dust and debris can go into it and be sucked in. So on the drilling point, we're going to be drilling in an angle so we give it a slope. So when the water and the condensation drain out, it doesn't stay on that flat surface if you drill it straight out. So we're going to give it in a slope so it just have a little bit of drop, just like sewer. So we start drilling now. So now we have made a hole on the inside, and now because a pilot went through all the way to the outside, we're gonna go outside and then finish the outside cut with a hole saw from the outside in. So then we have both sides cut out, and then we can start feeding the sleeve that's gonna go in there, and then we can feed or unit sleeve is to avoid stuff going in or coming in through. So that's going to be sealed all the way around, inside and outside is just a sleeve. So now we have the piece that cut out from the inside. Now we go and cut the outside. So now we have the penetration that we did from the inside out. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to drill from the outside in just to cut the hole for the sleeves and everything to come through. So now that we cut the stucco in a circle, we're going to cut the wire that is in there, and then we're going to cut the cardboard so we can start cleaning it out the insulation so we can slide our sleeve through. So there's a hole from the inside, and then we clear the insulation away so we can make the whole hole to come through all the way to the outside. So now we're going to push our sleeve into it. So now as you can see, we have our sleeve that came through. We have light from the inside or the outside coming in. So what we have is that the sleeve is in a slant, it's in an angle, so it's sticking out more from the bottom than the top. So what we're going to be doing with the Sharpie, we make a line around it, and then we go outside, make a line around it, and then we're going to cut it on that angle so we can have flush and flush, and then we can put silicone around it, and then when the hoses go in, this is going to be flush with the wall, and it's not going to be on the way. So we go and cut it outside as well. So now here's a sleeve that we're gonna put in, and that's the outer piece, and this is the top. So it's like this, and then we're gonna cut off the edges so we can have it on an angle, and it's not on the way, and then we can put it back in. Okay, folks, so now we have cut the sleeve and the angle that we needed. Now we're gonna feed it, and then once we put it on, we're gonna put silicone around it, and we're gonna let it dry, and then we can start feeding our machine through the sleeve. You're gonna ask why we put some silicone in there before we put the sleeve. So what we're doing is once we feed, we're gonna spread it around with our hand, and once it feeds through, it's gonna actually grab and it's gonna fill itself in the inside. So we're trying to seal as much as we can. So that's gonna help a little bit. But if we just add silicone on this side once it's on, we're just gonna have a small layer. So we're trying to seal as much as we can. So that's gonna help once we feed it through. So we feed it through, and then we add the silicone on the outside, and then right on this side as well. So now we have added silicone on the inside and outside. So we have a complete duct going from the outside in. So while that's sealing between the wall from any creatures crawling into the wall, in from the wall into the house. The insulation is helping, but this is just going to isolate completely. It's just making a path. So now that we seal this, we're going to wait until it dries so we can start fitting the machine from inside out, and then we can hook up the outside machine. Before we start putting our mini split on the wall, there's another cable that we need to put into this unit, and we have the hole and bracket ready to go. And this cable that is here attached to the unit already, that's the power. That's going to be the power from the wall. This other cable that came with it for inverter unit, that's the signal and power for the external unit from the internal unit. So this unit is going to be controlling the external unit with this cable. So for to connect this cable, this one has 4 connections, and it has four wires in both sides. So to connect that, it goes through the back, and we're gonna have to open the front just like if we were cleaning the filter. And right here on this one, we have to take the screw to expose the connections here. So we take the screw off, take the plate, and we feed the wire from the back, just like how the other stuff goes, to bring it up here, connect it, and then set it, and then we can start feeding that wire with everything else to the external area. Now that we're feeding the cable from the back, it reaches all the way to here. But for us to connect it, we're gonna have to take the screw off, take the plate off, the plastic, and then we're gonna connect it and then set it into one of those groups. So then we can put the plastic back on, and it grabs it, and it prevents it from sliding away from this and unplugging itself. So in the manual, it has 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here it has 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're gonna be connecting each color to the reference on the number. So we end up connecting colors to numbers. So now we have connected it or colors to the numbers, just like the diagram or what the manual says. So we have connected brown to 1, blue to 2, green and yellow to 3, black to 4. And then once that we have done that, we put the little cover or crimper that goes here, screw it down, and then we get all this, and then we pass it through the wall so we can start hooking up the external unit. How you wire it up in here, you have to match the numbers with the colors and the external unit as well, so you don't make a you don't damage the units because ground is in the wrong spot. So this is, you got to follow this sequence to connect it outside as well on the same number so that both units are communicating and working properly. So now that we have the silicone dried up, and then we have the hole with the sleeve on it, we're going to start feeding our wire through, and then we're going to start feeding the machine through. So everything falls in and the machine comes in and hits flush against the wall because everything's through the wall. So now we start feeding our machine with everything through the hole. So now that we have a feed the wires through, we hook the top machine and then we press it against it so it will fall into the bracket. So it's in there. So now it's just going to matter of time of going outside and hook up the outside unit so everything we can start bringing out the system. So now we have the internal unit put in and then we have it through the wall. We have that black wire which is going to be connecting to this external unit for the electronics and all that to work with the internal. And the other one is a power source. So we're going to take this cover off, remove that little screw, take this cover off, feed the wires in there, plug them in or connect them just with numbers, the numbers with colors just like inside, so everything matches and so that way we don't have a electrical problem. So now here we have the external unit exposed on the wiring or the electrical, and we're gonna be connecting it right like where it says colors, brown to number 1, blue to number 2. So we connect these now to the external unit, and then we can continue with the rest of the stuff. So now we have wired it up or into the unit, and what I do is I tighten in every single screw that I can see, so that way with the vibration it doesn't come off in the future, because you don't want any of this stuff coming off with vibration. These and it can fall in somewhere that it can create a problem. So tighten them even if they're not in use, and then now we can put the bracket that goes right here, and then we can put the cover back on, and then we should be connect the inside unit to the external unit on the electrical side. One very important thing is that you want to level the outside unit so it's straight due to the oil and everything on the outside unit. And the inside unit, you want to use also a level to level the unit on how it's going to stay on the wall, because the humidity that is going to build or catch in the pan, and you want it to drain straight to the drain point and not draining the inside because it's leaning to one side. Very important to level the unit. So now we're going to be connecting the hard lines for the Freon. We're going to take this plastic cover and we're going to put a small connection to it. We already connected it up there, and we're going to connect the other one as well and then run it to the machine. We got to remove these plastic covers to be able to connect and hook up this. And these had plastic covers too to protect moisture from going in there. So don't keep it unplugged too much or exposed. Try to do it fast. So on these feedings, flare nuts or flare feedings, what we do is we thread it as much as we can by hand, so then we don't cross thread it. And then once it gets all the way to the bottom, we tighten it with our tools. So now that we have everything presented, we tighten them, and then we're gonna be doing the leak test by putting vacuum through here on the system before we open the valves to charge the inside unit. So now we have our external unit installed. We put it on a unit strut, and we put it about a foot and a half away from the ground, and we put a slab so it will sit in there. And the reason being for this off the ground and we didn't put it on the roof is because all the leaves and grass and everything don't want to get sucked into the fan and the coil. So this is going to keep all the debris on the bottom away from the machine. And this is not a luxury. People are not going to see it. So also we just have to clean a little bit here, and then we have to put the cover down. But right now we're checking for leaks before we start covering everything up. And we have the electrical connected to the pull switch where we disconnect, and that is going into our panel, which has two breakers in there for that 220 that is feeding this machine. So right now we're doing the vacuum now. So then we're gonna test for leaks, and then we're gonna be able to add or free on or open the valve so both machines get start working. But right now we're doing vacuuming and checking for leaks. So now we did the vacuum and we did the leak test. Everything looks good. So now we put the cap right where we did the vacuum, and we're gonna be removing these two caps, and we're gonna be opening this valve first, the high side. We want the fluid or the gas to flow into the internal unit. That way it will come out of this unit. So the high is gonna be going that way. This one is a suction from the unit. So we don't want to open this and have the fluid or the gas right reverse itself. We want it to follow the same pattern. So we're gonna open the high side just like a normal status. So we open this, and then we open the bigger one. Once it's neutralizes, so everything is good, then we go inside and we start turning on our unit to see how it works. So now that we have removed the two caps, we have a Allen wrench that we're going to be using for those internal valves. But we're going to be opening this one, the high side or the smaller line first, because that's how the fluid is supposed to flow first out of the unit first, and then we'll open this one. So we open this one first slowly. Now that we have opened this valve, which was the main one, the high side, or the smaller line, we're going to open the other line as well so we can complete the loop and so the machine can work properly. Otherwise, if you just open that and you turn on the machine, you're going to burn out the machine. So you got to open this and make it a full loop. Now that we have fully opened those valves, we put the caps back on and it's time to start the machine. So now we have the whole unit installed. We started installing the internal unit. We made a hole in to feed everything through the wall to the external unit, and we installed the external unit. And then we started with the electrical. Then we connected the hard lines for the gas for the freon, and then we checked for we did the vacuum, and then we checked for leaks, and then we charged the lines. So the internal unit is already charged as well. So now with that said and everything's ready to go, we just need to energize this box, which just gotta pull the plastic and flip it and push it back in. So now everything has power internally and externally. So this is a 220 machine. So now with that, we'll go inside, start the machine. Now that we have energized both units, let's go turn on the internal unit so everything starts working. So now we have our control. We're gonna turn on the unit, but before we do that, we're gonna start reading the temperature right on the machine, which is at 81.6. So it's been about 5 minutes since we turned on the machine, and the temperature at the same point that we were pointing at earlier that was over 80 is now at 73, 74, 70s, low 70s. And here's the outside unit working now as well. Just want to show you how much humidity is coming out from the inside of the unit. Look, that thing is just, it's just like if there was a water leak in here. Look at that. There's so much humidity in the room, so look at that much water moisture. So we just need to connect a little hose to it so we can guide it to the ground. But we wanted to show you how much water or humidity is inside in the room. Well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful, or at least you get an idea how these mini splits are installed. So the main thing about this is if you don't feel comfortable with the power side or the electrical side, have somebody help you that knows about that. On our side, we just ask around and we've learned a lot. And with what we know, we hook it up from our panel, and we brought the put two breakers, and then we came out, and then we have a disconnect box, and then that ever want to work on the unit, we disconnect it there so we don't have to have it connected. So, and all the gas and everything. So this was an idea how we did this, and hopefully this was useful and helpful. And for our friends who are watching our video and haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like a video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in our canal, El Chano Jose.